Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy RotoBeast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Wednesday, February 26th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure to click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. And if you haven't come and checked out our website here at DFsCheatSheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at DFSCheatSheet.com. So hey, how you doing out there, Jeremy?
What up, man? I'm doing good. Knocking out content left and right.
Yep. One thing I was thinking about right now as we're getting started with this video is, man, I'm going to have to change my intro, bro, because, hey, we got a lot more than just NBA, NFL, and MLB. Now we got a ton of things going on. So can you real quick before we jump into this kind of update them on some of the other stuff that we have going on outside of our three main sports?
Yeah, man. Hey, look, if you're a sports fan, this is one of the coolest times of year because you have a lot of sports going on. NASCAR is now in its third week. The PGA Tour is in full swing. You've got the Players Championship kind of coming up quick. You've got Augusta coming up. We've got content and outstanding writers for both of those sports. The NHL season is in full swing. Chris Robin, a.k.a. the Detroit Beastie, breaks down his favorite stacks in his Hot Poking Stacks article. We also do the NHL Morning Skate every morning live on YouTube. And he's been killing it. I mean, again, last night he dropped 4 lineups for free. Those aren't going to stay free forever. Our memberships are going to change a little bit. And next week, those will go in our cash game lineups, and you have to be a paid member to get those. But for now, take advantage of them. I don't think he's missed more than a couple times in the last 3 weeks. So we've got that going on. Tyler breaks down NASCAR. We've got Derek doing full golf. We've got podcasts and videos and tutorials for every single sport. Not to mention, we've got the optimizer with all of the tools that the optimizer has to help you build as many custom lineups as you want. We've got full analytics, the entire 9 yards, and we've got some really exciting things in development as well. With NHL about to go live in the optimizer, NASCAR about to go live in the optimizer. We have guys working on custom projections for each sport for us. Proprietary projections will be launching soon as well. So a lot going on, a lot of bang for your buck. Make sure you check us out.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm very, very excited. You know, as a sports fan, you have to be excited for sure. So yeah, man, let's jump into it. Talk some basketball. You ready to go?
Absolutely.
Cool. So first game we're going to start with, hey, this game is actually just starting off as a lot of fantasy relevancy. This game should be a pretty up and down track meet. We got Brooklyn going into Washington to face the Wizards.
It's funny because you kind of look at how these lineups are projected for today, and it looks like just perimeter players, right? I mean, Dinwiddie, Prince, Harris, LeVert, all 4 of those guys to me are in play on this slate. I really like Taurean Prince in this game as a value play in tournaments today. You know, he's starting to warm up a little bit from behind the three-point line. He's playing about 28 minutes. He has a $4,500 price tag. It's a big slate. And we know Prince is a more aggressive and physical wing. They can play the power forward. He's kind of a tweener between a 3 and a 4. Could knock the 3, a really good 3 and D wing. So Dinwiddie's price isn't moving, at least on FanDuel. He's still 7,100. We know he's going to start the point guard position, and he's coming off a game with only 34.2 fantasy points. But he's kind of having, I would put him kind of in the class of Lonzo Ball. Like, it seems like 30 is the floor for this guy, and then in a game like this, he probably has the upside of 50. So I think you could look at Dinwiddie, you can look at Prince, you can look at Harris, LeVert, you can even look at Jarrett Allen in this spot because we know Washington is very bad against centers. They're very bad against rebounding, and they just don't play defense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm looking like you kind of were looking more at the guards. I'm looking at the guards on the Washington side of things as well. I don't really care too much for the big men. That we do got Thomas Bryant is coming back, but he hasn't played in 5 games. So I don't know how much run he's really going to get, even though he's at a dirt cheap price tag. The guys I'm looking at, 2 guys. I'm looking at Ish Smith, 5,300, starting point guard. He's giving you a floor right around 25. With a little bit of upside there. He's playing 27 to 29 minutes a game. And then you got Bradley Beal, man. Bradley Beal has been tearing it up. 9,400. The guy should be priced a little bit higher, in my opinion. Back-to-back games of 50 points, and we talked about him the other day with Milwaukee. I was a little bit hesitant to really recommend him against Milwaukee, but at the same time, I had told you guys against Milwaukee earlier in the year, he had dropped 47 points. So hopefully, you play him a couple shares there. I think you can go right back to the well in a really good matchup going against Brooklyn today. Last time he's faced Brooklyn one time this year so far, and he had a really good game, 60 fantasy points. So I really like Bradley Beal in this spot. 9,400, I think, is a very good price tag for him. But that's really it, man. It's Ish Smith, it's Bradley Beal, and I'm ready to move on.
No love for Hachimura?
I was looking at him. I mean, you could throw him in some GPPs. It just doesn't I think there's better spots. I'll just leave it at that.
I think this guy's in a crush spot today, man. This guy's so skilled. He is so skilled, and it's been about minutes, and he's kind of been on this minutes limit of 25 to 28 minutes. He just played 46 minutes against Milwaukee. The production wasn't necessarily there in that game, but we know how good defensively Milwaukee is. I love this dude today. I think 5,100. I think he goes under owned. I think it's a very, very, very good play.
Yeah, no, I definitely could get behind him as at least as a tournament play at minimum, for sure. Moving on, next game we'll talk about, we got Philadelphia going into Cleveland to face the Cavaliers. And before you get started with Philadelphia, just tell everybody what you're telling me about that you feel that Drummond is ducking Embiid.
Look, I was making the thumbnail for this video, right? And I was all about I had it all made up, and it was Embiid and Drummond. And I mean, everybody knows that Drummond and Embiid have had a little bit of a beef going back to last year and even the year before. And it just seems like the last few times that these guys have been going to square off against each other, Drummond's been ruled out. And so I make the thumbnail, and I finish making a thumbnail, and boom, there's the news. Drummond's ruled out tonight. And so that's why I asked you, do you feel like this dude's just ducking Embiid or what?
Yeah, for sure. It's hella funny because, bro, Embiid, he beats with like half of the centers in the league, literally. Yeah. And I personally think that Embiid's a pussy, but hey, he gets the better of him. Drummond, Cat, like you know what I'm saying. But
I would love to hear how much trash Embiid actually talks during the course of a game, because he has that personality, like that he just constantly knifes you and knifes you and knifes you.
For sure. Every play, he has something to say. He has an elbow to give you or something in the side or something,
right.
But yeah, man, what do you think about Philadelphia today?
Hey, look, man, I like all of these guys, to be honest with you. And I say this, I think it seems like every time that Cleveland's on the slate playing at home, I say this, Cleveland's competitive at home. They're very competitive at home. And Philadelphia not playing the best basketball, coming off a nice win, though, the other night. And I like a lot of these guys, to be honest with you. I like Joel Embiid a lot. I think Al Horford at 4,800 is a very good value play at this price tag. We know Al Horford is going to play the power forward position in the spot, and we know what kind of a passer Al Horford is. And like you've always said, Al Horford's a winner, man. He's just a straight winner.
Yeah.
He understands how to facilitate the basketball. He can get you rebounds. And what I noticed in their previous game is they both started side by side. Embiid went out at about 5 minutes into the first quarter. Horford moved over to center, and then he played at center kind of for 2 or 3 minutes. Then Embiid came back in that rotation. So I think you got Horford and Embiid. They're going to play with each other, and then they'll play separately. So I like that. Your boy Shake Milton, if he's going to start, you have to give him consideration. Tobias Harris is a very fair price tag at 6,600 with no Ben Simmons. And I like Josh Richardson a ton. I like all 5 of their starters, to be honest with you. Outside of that, if you want to look at Alec Burks in tournaments, I don't mind the play because I do think he's going to continue to get run, and he does have upside. But that's kind of where I'm going to cap it off. You get any deeper in that, and you're really just throwing a dart out there. Like if you're talking about Glenn Robinson or Korkmaz or, Thibault, any of these guys. I think that they've got 6 legit guys in play today, and Alec Burks would be that guy that's kind of the upside tournament low-owned play if you want to throw him out there.
Yeah, man. I think honestly, if Philadelphia is gonna have any opportunity to come out the East, Al Horford is gonna have to start, and Al Horford is gonna have to play 30+ minutes, and him and Embiid just have to figure it out. And it's a little bit mind-boggling to me just because we talked about it. Al Horford is a very unselfish player, and I feel he could definitely set up, some quality possessions and stuff like that for Embiid. I think they just have to get on the same page. But if they want an opportunity to come out the East, they definitely are going to have to figure it out. I like that duo a lot. I like that starting 5 as a whole for Philadelphia.
Do you think they should run more stuff with Horford setting the high pick and roll because he can knock down the 3-point shot, and let Embiid just get down on the block and clean things up?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, you set the pick and roll. You have Al Horford catch the ball at the top of the key. He's going to draw out, the power forward, which is usually the other big man. He'll leave Embiid down low, one-on-one on the block. And like you said, just dish it to him and just kind of go to work. I think that's what they have to do. They can't play. They can't play with both of them on opposite blocks. One of them has to come out, and I think that's Al Horford. But Al Horford's a really good passer, so not only can he set up and be fairly well, also he's a good passer. He can get other people when the attention kind of does go to Embiid, get some back doors for Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, etc. For sure.
And Embiid's like a wannabe 3-point shooter, where that's actually in Al Horford's game.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. On the Cleveland side of things, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, you can look at Colin Sexton, 5,900. The guy's having a really good second year. You can look at the young guy, Darius Garland, as well at 4,600, because continue to get consistent run. Outside of that, I mean, you're looking at Kevin Love, 6,500 is a very good price tag. With no Drummond, I'm looking for Larry Nance to get the start. If Larry Nance is going to get the start at 5,300 and play, 30-plus minutes, I definitely think that you could look at him in this spot. But that's really where I'm at. I'm just looking at those four guys, and I'm ready to move on. Next game we're going to talk about, we got New York going into Charlotte to face the Hornets.
I was shocked the other night that Dennis Smith was 14% owned in most tournaments. I was shocked because he was minimum value play and being that low. Today, Elfrid Payton's back. But my point in bringing that up is the Knicks as a whole seem to constantly be really low owned. And there's a couple of plays here that I think you could definitely use to your advantage. And one would be Julius Randle at 7,600 going against a team that we talk about it all the time. Charlotte, we don't know what they're doing at the center position. We have no idea what they're doing with their big men. PJ Washington is not going to hold down Julius Randle. It's just not going to happen. And neither is Cody Zeller for that matter. I just don't think that they have anybody that they can roll out that can match the intensity, the physicality, and the game that Randle has. The other guy is RJ Barrett. I talked about the other day when he was on my favorite plays in the slate. He came out and he balled. And again, price 4,800 on FanDuel. I really think in the second half of this season, this guy's going to play more minutes. He's already showed he can score the basketball. And I just think that those two guys you can play today and probably not be very high owned on a 9-game slate, and they're both in really good spots.
Yeah, I mean, on the Charlotte side of things, there's definitely some guys that I'm liking here. I mean, I like Terry Rozier coming in at 5,000. I just think it's too cheap of a price tag for Terry Rozier. Yes, I understand that he's been a little bit inconsistent. I get it. But man, we've been playing Terry Rozier for years now. We know the upside that Terry Rozier gives us. I think right now, the biggest thing is now he's going through a full season as a starter. So a little bit wear and tear. He's not having those fresh legs compared to sometimes just getting the spot start. But nonetheless, I think this is a really good spot against New York. I think that I definitely could get behind Terry Rozier. Devontae Graham sat out the first end of a back-to-back. He is expected to be in the lineup today at 5,900. The guy's having a really good breakout season. I think that he's a guy we can look at. Malik Monk coming off the bench, playing 28 to 30 minutes still. I think that he's a guy possibly to play as the low-owned GPP play. Miles Bridges at 6,000. I think that you can look at him. I think he's strictly a GPP play, but I do like him in this spot. The guy, like I said, he's having a really good season. Outside of that, that's really where I'm at. I just like the guards for Charlotte going against this New York team, and I'm ready to move on. Next game we're talking about, we got Minnesota.
Terry Rozier broke.
What happened?
Terry Rozier broke Twitter last night.
He did what?
I mean, he broke Twitter. People were just irate about Terry Rozier last night because he was so chalky and he didn't do anything. But I think one thing to quickly point out before I move on is you can't get that upset when a guy's that chalk and it doesn't happen. That if you don't have there's two ways to be about it. If you have a process, you understand that he was part of the process yesterday. The play was correct. He just didn't play. If you're not process orientated, then you start breaking things and you say everybody doesn't know what they're talking about. Rozier had a bad game. Stick to the process.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Minnesota going into Miami to face the Heat.
No Towns, and I mean, I'm with you. I like all of the pieces that Minnesota has. They're kind of fun to watch. And I think you can look at a lot of these guys. Naz Reid, a very good young player. You got Yancho Hernangomez finally getting some run. We've seen him on the bench, buried in Denver. And we knew before he was a guy that in Denver, when they didn't have, they had a lot of injuries and they didn't have spots, he would step up and he would be a really good value play. Now he's getting some run. So Malik Beasley's in play, Russell's in play, Reed's in play, Hernangomez is in play. All four of those guys are in play. And then if you want to get involved with the narrative, look no further than James Johnson going against his former team, the Miami Heat. And James Johnson's been playing extremely well since going there. He's had at least 30 points 3 of the last 6 games, and he's had at least 29 points in 5 of the last 6 games with 1 dud against Toronto. And that was, he still played 27 minutes, had 8.7 rebounds. So $5,700, it's a very fair price tag for James Johnson and what he's been doing. And if you want to get involved in that narrative game, you don't have to look very far. You've got James Johnson. So I think all 5 of those guys are definitely in play. Just pick a format.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing that I've learned about this new Minnesota look is they're kind of play like Washington. They're just getting up and down, trying to score the ball. I definitely like a bunch of these Heat guys. I'm going to start. I like Dragic and Nunn. I think both of those guys are in play. They're both playing right around 30 minutes. Dragic is really starting to come alive, and Nunn has had a couple of really big games in a row. Then you can look at Jimmy Butler's a game time decision if he plays. I think he is in play at 7,900. And if Jimmy Butler ends up getting ruled out, it's just going to give those other guys a little bit more of a bump. Jay Crowder at 5,100 is a guy that we can look at. He's playing very consistent minutes. He's been producing in other stats outside of just scoring. We like guys like that. Then we really got to wait on the news for Bam. See what happens with Bam. He is a game time decision. I think that Bam's going to play today. If he does play, I think this is a really good spot for him. And if he is out, then there's probably going to be some value that's going to open up out there. In Miami, you can look at a guy like Kelly Olynyk who will get some extra run, etc. So we definitely got to wait on that Bam news and wait on the Butler news. But I really do like some of these Heat guys going against this young Minnesota team. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Orlando going into Atlanta to face the Hawks.
I'm glad that Bam won that skills competition, man, because a game like this, that guy's so skilled. He can get up and down the floor with the best of them. You have to like Vucevic because Vucevic is a center playing against the Hawks, and it's Dwayne Dedmon, and Dwayne Dedmon's been playing well, but it's Vucevic against Dedmon. I like him. Aaron Gordon continues to play extremely well post All-Star break. The price tag of $7,500. Let's just be honest. It's a fair price tag. That's what it is. It's a fair price tag for what he's been doing. He's had at least 50 fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games. He's playing extremely well. So those are the 2 main guys. Markelle Fultz is a guy we'll continue to mention that you can give consideration to in tournaments. This game, I think, is going to have a ton of fantasy goodness in it. One guy that I always play against Atlanta, for some reason, this guy always plays well against Atlanta, is Terrence Ross at 5,100. So you could possibly look at him as well. Ennis not really in play here. I've liked Ennis when he's been in previous spots with the Philadelphia 76ers and with Houston. But I just don't like him in this spot because I don't think there's enough. I don't think that the Orlando Magic play a style of basketball that fits the style of basketball Ennis plays. To me, he's more of an ancillary player on the floor who's just kind of filling up space. So for me, the main 2 guys are Vucevic and Gordon. Really like Terrence Ross as well.
Yeah, man, for sure. On the Hawk side of things, come on, we always got to start with the main event. You got Trae Young. Definitely think that if he's a game time decision with a little bit of an illness, I expect him to play. We got, like I said, we do got to wait a little bit on that news. But if Trae Young does play, I think this is a really good matchup for him. I think this game is definitely going to be an up and down type game. Outside of Trae Young, you got some guys you can look at. You can look at Kevin Huerter. You can look at DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish. All these guys are kind of splitting minutes. They're all playing around 24, 25 minutes a game. They're strictly GPP plays. Honestly, just keep it real for Atlanta. I'm really just looking at Trae Young, and I'm looking at John Collins. I think those are the guys, whenever you look at Atlanta, you always just kind of got to consider them. And then if there is some injury news out there and some guys sit out, then, some of the other guys get a little bit of bump. But when they're all healthy, it's tough to kind of decide between their shooting guards and their small forward position because they rotate so many guys around right there. Next game, actually, real quick, last guy I'll throw out there. I just have to at least give him a little love. Dwayne Dedmon, he's game time decision. It's looking like he's probable to play today. This is a guy who's been playing very well. Since coming back to Atlanta. So if he's going to be out there playing his full allotment of minutes, going against Vucevic, who doesn't play very much defense, I think this is a spot that Dedmon can have a pretty good game as well. Moving on, next game we're talking about, we got Memphis going into Houston to face the Rockets.
My lock of the night. You ready for it?
Let's hear it.
My lock of the night is Josh Jackson. I played Josh Jackson and Gorgie Zhang over Brandon Clark the other night. I wasn't banking on Brandon Clark getting hurt. I was just trying to leverage ownership. And it worked out. I think both these guys are tremendous value plays. They're going to fill in because Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark are both out. and now you're down to Josh Jackson. Going into the Clipper game, Josh Jackson had already played some minutes. So, it was he played 17 minutes and 22 minutes in the previous two games. He played 25 minutes against the Clippers, had 26.5 fantasy points. That's more than a point per minute. That absolutely crushes his 3.5 price tag on FanDuel. I like this spot for a guy like Josh Jackson. Very athletic, big guy, can run the floor, can knock the three down, can rebound, can do some things. Very long guy as well. And Gorgui Dieng, look, yes, Valanciunas is on the floor. Valanciunas is having a really good year. It's a very good price tag, at least on FanDuel at 6,800 against the Houston Rockets team that doesn't play with the center. I just think this is a really good spot for an athletic guy like Gorgui Dieng to block some shots, get some extended run. Very fair price tag of 4,500. But my lock of the night is Josh Jackson. I think you just lock this guy in. In my 150 lineups, I'll probably have him in 140 of them because I just feel that strong that it's that good of a spot for him to reach value tonight. So those are my two favorite plays. I don't know what's going on with the point guard position of Memphis, and it's different for rookies when you get to this stretch of the season. They're used to playing, the shortened season in college, etc. And Morant is not playing well. He's just not. Maybe that's a good time to load him up because everybody will be off of him, but I don't like him playing against Russell Westbrook. Point guards, when you want to play a point guard against Houston, you play him when Westbrook's out, when they're playing against Harden. Not on a slate, in my opinion, where there's other point guards and Morant's going to draw Westbrook. So for me, in this game, I like the value. Josh Jackson, Gorgui Dieng, I'm moving on.
Yeah, man, I really do like the call on Josh Jackson, man. I think that's a really good call. I was watching the game the other night, and, he was in there getting some run. And, bare minimum price tag, we know Josh Jackson has 40 fantasy point upside. We've seen it multiple times with the Suns, so that's a great call. I do like that a lot. On the Houston side of things, I mean, it's simple. There's three guys I'm looking at. I'm looking at Westbrook, 10.4. I'm looking at James Harden, 11.7. And then the other guy I'm looking at, man, I'm looking at Robert Covington. This guy came over to Houston, and he has really, really fit in. I mean, this is a really great style of play that really suits him. And I think that was a really good trade. I don't agree the fact that they traded away Capella, their big man, for Covington, but so far Covington has really been fitting in. He's giving you a really solid floor. He's got you at least 35 fantasy points in 4 straight games. So he's another guy I think that we can look at 6,400 and kind of a little bit more of an up-tempo game. And that's really where I'm at. I'm just going to stick with those three on Houston. I'm moving on.
One thing real quick before we move on, bro. News just broke right now that Malik Monk for the Charlotte Hornets has been suspended indefinitely for violating the league's drug policy. So we didn't touch on this because we already covered that game. But with Malik Monk suspended indefinitely, I think Cody Martin at 3,700 is another guy you have to take a look at. With Devontae Graham out last night, Cody Martin went out and balled. He had 25.7 fantasy points and really had probably the best game of all the Charlotte guys last night. So Malik Monk is suspended indefinitely, violating the drug policy. Look for Cody Martin to be a really good play today.
Yeah, and that just gives all the other guards a little bit of a bump as well because there's going to be a couple other minutes to go around. Monk was playing, 25 to 27 minutes a game. Moving on, next game we're going to talk about, we got Dallas going into San Antonio to face the Spurs.
Yeah, and to me, it's Doncic. Right? I mean, it's Doncic. It's 10,000. This is a very fair price tag for Doncic. We've seen him up as high as 12,000 this year. And
hey, bro,
we know Jalen Brunson is hurt.
Hey, real quick, not trying to interrupt you. Bro, how did I get stuck with the Spurs, bro? That's your team that you talk about, man. Come on, bro.
You notice how I just jumped right into that? I wasn't giving you no chance to be like, hey, you want the Spurs? No chance. So relieved, right? So relieved. I don't have to talk about Aldridge and DeRozan and the crap that I'm so relieved. But how is Doncic still 10,000? Well, it's because of minutes. That's the point, right? The minutes, he's almost in a little bit of a load management situation. He played 34 minutes against Orlando. He missed the Atlanta game. He came back against Minnesota, played 25 minutes, almost had a triple-double in 25 minutes. 20 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, a block, and 2 steals for 47 fantasy points. It's not 6X, and that kind of, there's other point guards you could talk about like Trae Young and Russell Westbrook on this slate, but I really like the spot for Doncic, especially if we're going to get back to the 30-minute mark. The guy's got triple-double upside every single night. He's a tremendous tournament play. Outside of Doncic, you could possibly look at Porzingis. There's other guys on this roster you could talk about as well. The price tag on Tim Hardaway, it's too expensive, especially for today's slate. There's other guys in the small forward position that you could talk about. I just think Tim Hardaway is too expensive in this spot and kind of, this game against San Antonio. To me, I like Doncic. I like Porzingis. That's really where I'm at with that. I would be remiss if I didn't say anything about Seth Curry, because Seth Curry is getting run. He's been getting run all season. The Johnny-come-latelys who are loading up Seth Curry right now, welcome to the party. We've been playing Seth Curry all year long. It's always going to be about, is Doncic hogging the possessions and hogging the usage. Seth Curry's got to knock down shots to make the most of his opportunities. The minutes will be there, but he's a tournament-only play.
Yeah, for sure. On the San Antonio side of things, it's easy, man. You're looking at DeRozan, you're looking at Aldridge. Both of those guys are fair price tags. I think. Oh no, I'm sorry. Aldridge is actually has been ruled out. My bad. So yeah. So it's DeRozan. It's the DeRozan show. They're gonna run the ball through him. Because of Aldridge being out, I think a guy that'll definitely get a big time bump, and he's a very fair price tag. I think you can look at Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles is the guy when he has got run in the past. He's definitely produced. So I think that Trey Lyles is a guy that we can look at. Outside of Trey Lyles, like I say, it's DeRozan, and then another guy that nobody's playing is DeJounte Murray. This guy, in 4 of the past 5 games, he's had at least 38 fantasy points. He's playing very well. The problem with him is they just don't want to give the guy regular run of 30-plus minutes. But he's still producing in limited minutes, strictly a GPP play. But I do really like DeRozan. You could possibly even see Rudy Gay get a couple extra minutes at the power forward spot with no Aldridge, and they need some extra scoring. But yeah, man, I'm not too excited about these Spurs.
Quit ducking your boy.
Oh, Podol? Bro, I don't like playing Podol, to be honest. But 4,000, I mean, if he's gonna get the run, I definitely could see the play for sure.
Jakob, but yeah, I like him today.
Bro, I was ducking him though. I'll be honest. Moving on. Next game we're gonna talk about. We got the Clippers going into Phoenix to face the Suns.
The Clip Show. I mean, Phoenix has been competitive, right? And if Phoenix is going to be competitive, you have to give them consideration. But this is the Clippers side of it. It's kind of frustrating. I think we've reached a point right now where Paul George is almost getting to a must-play spot. This price tag keeps dropping. It's $7,800 for Paul George. He only scored 7 points the other night against Memphis. So, that he's not scoring the basketball. Kawhi Leonard is clearly dominating the usage. The point guard position, they added a bunch of pieces here. You've got, Lou Williams and Landry Shamet and Reggie Jackson and Patrick Beverley. It's a log jam of players. And really, at the end of the day, the only guy that has cash game consideration is Kawhi Leonard. The rest of these guys, if you want to load them up, at some point in time, Paul George is going to have one of these 35, 40-point fantasy outings. He's not very far removed from the Miami game on February 5th, where he had 44, and Minnesota on February 8th, where he had 41. 7,800 is a very good price tag. It's a very intriguing tournament play for Paul George on FanDuel. But this is a logjam, and it's too hard to predict. You can get as many guys as you want as tournament darts, in my opinion. Leonard's a cash game consideration, with George being a very intriguing tournament play.
Yeah, for sure. You were looking on the Suns side of things. There's a couple guys I think that we can look at. It's a tough matchup, though. The Clippers, when they're healthy, they're going to be a really good defensive team. They got a bunch of dogs on the defensive side of things. I definitely think you can look at Ricky Rubio at 6,400. He's been playing very well. Devin Booker right now he's been playing very well. Saric at 3,700 going to get the start. I think he's a guy you could possibly look at as a kind of a more value play. Just coming in pretty cheap. Outside of that, you got Oubre out, possibly get a little bit of a bump to Mikal Bridges. Ayton, I don't think it's the best spot for Ayton. I don't really want to pay $8,600 for him. But I think that you can look at him strictly as a tournament play. And that's really where I'm at. The main guys are Rubio and Booker for me. Moving on, final game of the night, we got Boston going into Utah to face the Jazz.
Boston on a back-to-back. Jason Tatum, 9,100. Don't really like that price tag for Tatum. It's justified for what he's been doing recently. It's definitely justified. He's had some monster games, 53.3 against the Clippers, 57 against the Lakers, 47.5 last night. He's playing a lot of minutes. They are on a back-to-back, so that's something that I would caution against a Utah Jazz team that likes to kind of pace down a little bit. I think Tice is more intriguing at that power forward spot tonight in this type of a game as opposed to Tatum at 9-1. Gordon Hayward coming off pretty much a dud last night. I think you could, play some recency bias in tournaments. He only had 16 fantasy points in 30 minutes. He'd been on a nice run of 33, 39, 48, 48, and 30. So, you could play that recency bias and leverage the field a little bit with Hayward. 6,800 is kind of a steep price tag, though. Brown's a better price tag at 6,300. And then you've got Marcus Smart. We know with no Kemba Walker on the floor, that Marcus Smart's going to kind of start at that point guard position. And I'd follow up the point guard position by saying that Brad Wanamaker had a really nice game last night. Wanamaker, his price tag is really cheap. He continues to play minutes between 18 and 25 minutes without Kemba Walker. And he's getting you value. 21.7, 28 fantasy points last night against Portland. And you called that. You said Portland's absolutely terrible against point guards. Wanamaker had a really nice game. The problem that I have with this game as a whole, though, is one, from a tournament standpoint, you need to get some exposure. And I'm pretty sure you're going to talk about Gobert against the Celtics, but you need some exposure to this late game. It's an hour and a half after the last game before it starts. And, this is the way that we talk about all the time, that you move up tournament leaderboards is with this late game exposure, especially when the game's this far after the game before it. So, all these guys are in play. We don't have to tell you Boston's a pretty streamlined play without Kemba Walker. You know who the guys really are.
For sure. I mean, on the Utah side of things, there's a couple guys definitely in play. Rudy Gobert loves big men going against Boston. Gobert, I like him. I think he's in a really good spot here. Outside of Gobert, you can look at Mike Conley coming off a dud last game. Nobody's going to really want to play Mike Conley. I think that Mike Conley's a guy that we can look at in GPPs only, but he is in play. Donovan Mitchell coming in at 7,300. I think is a very good price tag for him. I like him in this spot. Jordan Clarkson, man, he's that sixth man coming off the bench, continues to come in and just shoot the ball, score the ball. He's playing very well. He's a guy you can look at in tournaments, and that's really where I'm at, man. I'm sticking with their guards, and I'm sticking with Gobert, and I'm moving on. So I think that's really where we're at. If you guys want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, make sure to check out the site, DFSCheatSheet.com. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out.